Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and today I'm going to be starting a new set of vlogs on my channel where we try to count through titles. I've noticed a trend on my shelves that I have quite a few books with numbers in the titles, so I've decided to just use that and count our way through the numbers until I can't find books with those numbers in the title. In this video, we will be doing 3 books. A book with 1 in the title, 2 in the title, and 3 in the title. And we're going to start with Her One Mistake by Heidi Perks. This book is a missing child thriller. It follows Charlotte and Harriet. Charlotte takes her 3 children and her friend Harriet's daughter to an amusement park. She swears she was watching these children, but her 3 children are safe and Harriet's daughter is now missing. Harriet obviously is very distraught. Her daughter is missing and doesn't trust Charlotte because Charlotte lost her daughter. Of course, it could happen to anyone, but it's natural for a parent to blame the person who was watching her daughter. The police start to look into both of these women and secrets are revealed, and I'm sure at some point we either find Harriet's daughter or find out what happens to her. I'm gonna go read this and I will talk to you very soon with my thoughts of Her One Mistake. So I finished Her One Mistake by Heidi Perks. This was actually a really interesting thriller. There wasn't really any super big twists. I would not call this a twisty thriller. It definitely leans more to an unreliable narrator. This book follows 2 friends, Charlotte and Harriet. Harriet is needing to take a course, so Charlotte agrees to take Harriet's daughter Alice to the school fair with her kids. And they go to the school fair and everything is going fine until all of Charlotte's children and Alice decides to go on a bouncy house maze. It's not like your typical bouncy house where you just get in and bounce, but there's points where you don't see the children because they're inside this bouncy house and maze situation. Charlotte's children get off the maze, no problem, and Charlotte is watching for Alice to get off, and Alice never gets off this maze. Obviously, Charlotte is very confused as to where Alice has gone. Alice is, I think, 4. She's very, very little, and asks her children if they saw Alice when they were in it. They don't really know. Her children are also quite young. And we start the investigation into what has happened to Alice. Harriet and her husband Brian are told that their daughter is missing, and we follow them and Charlotte through the investigation of what happened to Alice. We see a family officer move in with Harriet and Brian, so we see the behind the scenes of their marriage and their relationship as parents to Alice, and also their grieving process of having a missing child. We see Charlotte trying to figure out how she is going to move on. We see her friends stop kind of trusting her with their children, not wanting their children to come over for sleepovers because they think she is a bad parent because she allowed basically Alice to go missing in their minds. This is a dual narrator book, so we see it told from both Charlotte and Harriet's perspective. There are 2 narrators for the audiobook as well. And like I said, it really leans toward an unreliable narrator. The whole time you're getting bits of the story without really knowing who you can trust and the information that they are providing, because there is conflicting information that you're getting between Charlotte and Harriet, as well as what Harriet is saying that Brian is doing through her perspective. So there's a lot of misinformation going on in this book, and the whole time you're just trying to figure out who is telling the truth, or what version of events is the truth, or is none of this the truth, and what is coming up later in the book. Eventually we do obviously find out what happens and what the truth is, but I won't speak on that because obviously that would be spoilers. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I had a really good time with it. It read very, very quickly. I would definitely recommend this thriller. I had a really great time reading it. This is the first book that I've read by this author, and I really did enjoy the writing style. I don't know if the author has written other books, but I will definitely be looking into it because I did really enjoy my time with this book and would definitely want to read more from this author in the future. That being said, we are counting through titles, and that was for book 1, Her One Mistake, which means we need to read number 2. For the number 2, I will be reading Two Nights by Kathy Reichs. Kathy Reichs, if you don't know, is the writer of the Temperance Brennan series and is a forensic anthropologist here in Canada. And the show Bones was actually based off that book series, as well as Kathy Reichs' work as a forensic anthropologist. I got back into reading years ago by starting to read the Temperance Brennan series by Kathy Reichs. I loved the TV series Bones, so when I found out there was a book series based off that TV series, I wanted to read it, and that's what actually got me back into reading. Now, I will say, I still enjoy the series because to me, it's like reminding me what got me back into reading, and it kind of has a sentimental space in my heart. Would I say it is the best series I've ever read? No, but to me, it's very sentimental. And I'm excited to read Kathy Reichs. I believe this is their first standalone novel. So this is not part of the Temperance Brennan series. It is a standalone novel that follows Sunny. Sunny is a private investigator. We follow Sunny as she looks for a little girl who has been lost during a bomb explosion. The family has hired Sunny to find her, and that's what this book follows. I'm excited to try this standalone and see if I still feel that nostalgia factor just because it's Kathy Reichs' writing. And it works perfect for this vlog as it has the word "to" in the title. So I have finished Two Nights by Kathy Reichs, and to be honest, for most of this book, I considered DNFing it. But I wanted to finish it for the vlog so that I could give like my actual opinions versus just being like, I DNF'd it, didn't finish, don't know. I'm gonna give this 2 stars. For a while, I almost gave it 1, but I am gonna give it 2 stars because there was a slight twist at the end, barely a twist, but it was there. And that was slightly interesting. But other than that, this book was not good. I am sad to say that because I do like the Temperance Brennan series by this author. And I will say it is much better than this standalone. I almost would just skip the standalone and just read the series. So let me give you a little synopsis on the book and then we'll go into why I didn't like it. So this follows Sunday Knight, who goes by Sunny. And Sunny was an ex-cop, and for reasons that are discussed in the book, but I won't go into, has kind of retreated from the world and is now hiding out on an island. Bo, another fellow cop, comes and basically tells Sunny about this case and asks if Sunny will be a PI and investigate this case. This case, as I mentioned earlier, is about a missing girl who goes missing during a bombing. And Sunny says she will look into this and goes to meet the grandmother of this girl, Stella. The grandmother explains that 2 of her family members were killed during the bombing and Stella has gone missing. Her remains were never found. And wants Sunday to both find her granddaughter as well as finds those responsible for the deaths of her daughter and her grandson. I found this book almost impossible to settle into. It is so choppy. Half the sentences are not actually structural sentences. They don't all have subjects. They don't all have verbs. It was so choppy. Also, just the plot itself was choppy. Sunday was in this city, at this hotel, at this city, in this hotel, at this city, in this hotel, without anything really linking it together, and it got very, very confusing. By about halfway through the book, Sunny had visited her 8th hotel in her 8th city, and I still didn't know what was going on, and I was really not caring at that point, to be honest. We see her following so many people, or people following her and getting into physical altercations every chapter. And people come in, she follows them, and then they're gone and they're not part of the story for the rest of the book. There is a revolving door
of bad guys and a revolving door of physical altercations with Sunny and the bad guys. It became exhausting and repetitive and very hard to settle into and follow, and to see who had anything to do with Stella or what was going on with Stella or anything. I will say this is not Kathy Reich's writing style, which was very confusing to me because I've read about 17 of the Temperance Brennan series books. I know what Kathy Reich's writing style is like, and it's not this. So it almost felt like because the author has written this long-running series for so long, and I believe this is the first standalone, that they were trying to show that they could do something else by going completely in an opposite writing direction. And I don't think that worked, because people are going to pick up your book because they know they like what you've written in that series and are going to come to this and be very confused why this feels like it was written by someone completely different. All the characters, Sunny included, the grandmother, the other cops involved, are all so unlikable and sometimes are making comments that are actually right on the line of offensive or are offensive. And I just could not like any of these people. And I was so frustrated reading this book because I was like, oh, please tell me someone's going to address some of these things. And some of them were, but most of them weren't. And I was just so over it very early in this book. And the more I read it, the more I was over it. To be honest, I would just skip this and just read the Temperance Brennan series because it is significantly better. Also, because Kathy Reichs is a forensic anthropologist, she brings so much of her own expertise to that series that really makes Temperance Brennan a more believable character that this book just didn't have. And I think that's why most people follow her work in that series, is because it is really an informed opinion on the job and what a forensic anthropologist does. And that was missing from this book. And the likability of the character and the fullness and the completeness of the character was really missing. I've been talking about this book for way too long, so we're just going to put it down and talk about what the next book is for this vlog. We have one more book for this vlog, and it is the book with the number 3 in the title. And actually, this book, because of what the title is, has the numbers 1, 2, and 3, so it could have went into any of the slots. And that is 1, 2, 3 by Lori Frankel. So this book follows the Mitchell triplets, and the Mitchell triplets have a mom who is currently fighting against an injustice. And I believe their mom is a person who has raised them to see something that is not correct in society and to speak out against it. And that is what these girls are doing. All 3 are now coming of age, they're growing up, and they're seeing things that they know are not right in society, and they're going to speak up about it. Whether that is a social injustice or an environmental injustice, there's a few listed in the synopsis, and we see these girls start to speak out and to try to make changes in their community. As they search for the changes that they want, they actually start to uncover a little bit of some hidden secrets and mysteries and start to look into those as well. I think they might be some family secrets. I'm not quite sure from the synopsis. So once I read this, I will come back and let you know kind of what kind of secrets these girls unfold without telling you what they are, so not to spoil the book. This is a literary fiction book. I really love literary fiction, so I'm excited to pick this up. I feel like I haven't read a literary fiction book in a hot minute. Anyway, I'm excited to dive into this, especially after not loving the last book I read, just to kind of get something new, something fresh, change the genre completely, and see if I like this a little bit better. That's not going to be too hard to like this a little bit better because I really did not like the last book. This is my first book by this author, so I'm excited to see what the writing style of this author is like and what the author is trying to convey through the story. I always feel like with literary fiction, there's always kind of an overarching point that the author is trying to get across through the plot. And I feel like from the synopsis, I'm getting that vibes. So I'm going to go read this and I will chat to you very, very soon. So I finished 1, 2, 3 by Lori Frankel, and I'm going to give it 4 stars. This was really, really interesting book.
Everyone was asking me what it was about, and honestly, it's kind of like an Erin Brockovich situation, but like where we follow the teenagers in this town. So 17 years ago in Bourne, the water turned basically neon green. At this point, it became obvious that the chemical plant was draining into the river and into the water system and poisoning the people of this town. This ended up killing a lot of people in the town. It had an increase for cancer and also an increase in birth defects. We follow a set of triplets, Mab, Monday, and Maribel, who were born around this time of the river turning green. The plant obviously left, but there was really no consequences to this plant. There was a class action lawsuit around the time that this happened, but they never could prove that the company actually knew what it was doing was poisonous or did it intentionally, and it never really went off the ground. The triplets' father actually died from working in the plant, and their mother has been fighting for the last 17 years to get the plant to pay for what they've done. They called themselves 1, 2, and 3 versus going by their actual names because the third triplet, Mirabelle, is confined to a wheelchair and is also nonverbal and uses an assistive tech device to speak, and sometimes obviously doesn't have the time to type out someone's name or use that to get their attention, so has started to use hand gestures for 1, 2, and 3 to designate her triplets. As a parent of a child who uses an assistive tech device, I found this so interesting to see a character using this in the book. It was so fantastic to see that in this book, and I love the disability rep and also physical ability rep in this book. The second triplet, Monday, is also on the autism spectrum, and I really enjoyed seeing that representation as well. It has now been 17 years and this chemical plant has decided to reopen, and it absolutely rocks this town and rocks these triplets' world. They do not know what is going to happen. They don't trust this chemical plant. The chemical plant says they've changed what they're doing, and nobody believes that. And we see this town trying to figure out its way through this. Do they need jobs? Do they believe this chemical plant? What is going on? And we also see the young people who were most affected by this, or at least a lot, where they lost parents due to death or injury, or also were born with birth defects, fighting and saying, we can't have them come back. They harmed us. We cannot do this. And we see this town going through that. I really enjoyed the writing style of this book. The topic was very interesting. I would definitely read another book by this author for sure. I was captivated by this book. It did read a little young just due to the fact that our 3 main characters are teenagers. We get a lot of the adults' perspective through Mirabelle because she is with her mother a lot because she needs full-time care and is in a wheelchair. And we get that perspective of the adults through Mirabelle just because she tends to be with the adults a lot of the time and taking in what she's hearing. Like I said, it was a really intriguing story, and it was interesting because I do also love the movie Erin Brockovich. So this was fun because it is a similar type thing. This is obviously a work of fiction and that is based on a true story, but I'm sure the author was influenced by a true story because I know this has happened 2 places in the world. Anyway, this is the last book for this video. So we have kind of gone all over the place with a 4-star, a 2-star, and another 4-star while we've been counting through titles. I have already started another vlog continuing with numbers 4, 5, and 6. So you'll be seeing that probably in a couple of weeks from now, where we will continue to count through titles and read books with numbers in the title. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.